Hello everyone, welcome back to more AEW on TEW2020. We are here on the 4th week of June, starting off with our Dark and our Dynamite. Of course, usually, as usual, BTE. Start off with the Young Bucks doing their intro. After this, we tune into the date between Garza Jr. and Mayo Iwatani. Garza is actually kind of surprisingly acting very gentlemanly towards Mayo, and for all intents and purposes, it's actually doing really well on the date. Afterwards, Garza offers a kiss to Mayo, who declines and says that there just wasn't any chemistry between them. Mayo leaves as Penelope Ford and Viperous show up from their spot. I'm imagining like they were probably a few booths away or whatever. And Garza is bitter about Mayo rejecting him, and so he calls for Ford and Viperous to go and take down Mayo, and they do. I meant to start this the storyline last week, but oh well, this still works fine. After this, Frederick Hurst is running around backstage. He's trying to offer resumes to different coaches around to get them to bring him in as a client. Sort of the Billy Kay thing, almost. He doesn't get anyone to accept, which frustrates him, and eventually throws down all the resumes and begins to cry a little. However, he's met by Colt Cabana, who reassures him that saying that being removed from the Dark Order isn't the worst thing in the world. Colt says that while he can't directly give assistance, he can at least help Hurst get back up on his feet. Which is very nice. Dark starts off with Nyla Rose defeating Sophia Wyndham pretty quickly. After this, Abaddon defeats Diamante. Some great chemistry. TNT finally get a win by picking up a win over the Gun Club. Then Team Tully's backstage, and Tully's giving tips to his guys. And when he sees the camera come by, he says that despite the loss, Strong Spears put up a very admirable performance for the TNT title last week. However, Tully does note that the wins that got Spears' record up were mostly on Dark, and so a lot of people said that they were pretty weak wins, and the 3 members of Team Tully need to get onto Dynamite more often, and they certainly do have some plans for that. After this, El Hijo del Vikingo defeats Matt Cardona. And afterwards, Evil Uno and Stu Grayson step out onto the ramp, and Evil Uno says, Vikingo, I'm sure you already know what I'm here for. Look, you're one of the best young stars that AEW has, and that's why I want you for the Dark Order. Me and Stu have a present for you. And they bring out a special Dark Order mask for Vikingo, complete with some unique adornments for him. Vikingo sighs and shakes his head before leaving, and Uno and Stu are discussing amongst themselves what they can do to continue to try to recruit Vikingo. After this, Sammy Guevara defeats Lee Johnson. Then, we have Peter Avalon and Sonny Kiss defeating Tahiti Miles and Fuego del Sol. With Sonny Kiss leading the way, followed by Fuego del Sol. After this, Matt Raywalt enters the ring. He has Mike. He talks to the audience about how Avalon and Kiss are true performers and will begin to slowly make their rise to the top. Even if right now they are just an opening act, they are just the pre-show performance, soon enough they will be the top billing in all of AEW with the help of the Drama King himself, Matthew Raywalt. So yeah, this is mainly to honestly push Sonny Kiss. Peter Avalon, he's fine, I guess. Raywalt, I'm a big fan of Raywalt, Aiden English, whatever you want to call him. I am a fan of him. He seems like a very pleasant guy. Sonny Kiss, very pleasant as well. Seems like that Sonny will be a huge asset for the division in the future. I just have to push him properly. After this, Deonna Purrazzo defeats Danny Jordan. Then Max the Impaler defeats Patricia Vibert with a broken wrist, which is a bit of a shame, but oh well. Thank you, Road Agent Mick Foley. And then, to finish things off, Fergal Devitt defeats Jacob Fatu. We do have a new referee. Devitt doing pretty well in a pretty good main event to Dark. Our show of Dynamite begins with 8-man tag. Team Taz and Team Angle going up against each other. Team Angle actually picks up the win over Jeff Cobb. And honestly, I'm a little bit disappointed in this match's ratings. I was kind of hoping that mainly the Team Taz guys would have done better, but oh well, that's fine. I think I clicked next segment. There we go. Late into the match, Samoa Joe ends up delivering a muscle buster to Cash Wheeler. Neither of them were the legal man, but this does end up incapacitating Wheeler long enough for the end of the match. And Sabre Jr., he gets the pin over Jeff Cobb, and then Brian Cage, he rushes in, he hits ZSJ with double axe handle. Starks and Joe, they're taking out Betts and Dax, while Kurt is checking in on Cash Wheeler. However, because Kurt is focused on Cash, Joe eventually does break away long enough to put Kurt Angle into the Coquina Clutch. Joe keeps it locked in as Taz, he's kicking people inside the ring. Taz, he can't really wrestle too much, he has a screwed up neck or whatever. So he's doing a little bit, but it's not all too much. Eventually, Cody Rhodes rushes out with some of the Nightmare family, and Taz does eventually decide, hey, alright, let's retreat. And admittedly, Joe is a bit reluctant to give up the Coquina Clutch, but he does because, that's what Taz wants him to do. So, I think this would be a good hot start to the show. You have 8 very good workers. Again, a little bit of a disappointing match, I would say, but then, you have the huge beatdown. Yeah. After this, Pac is seen backstage, and he's eluded a mic from Alex Marvez. You can see it's like, I meant to have Cassidy off screen. Oh well. And Pac is talking shit about Orange Cassidy and the Best Friends, saying that their power of friendship means nothing when compared to the sheer brutality that the bastard and his crew will employ onto them. Orange Cassidy is a lazy layabout, doesn't even deserve to sniff the TNT title, and yet he wants to challenge Pac. Pac says that Orange Cassidy needs to get in line like the rest of the weak, pathetic challengers that he has for his title, and that includes the new #1 contender, Garza Jr. Of course, Shawn Spears was the previous #1 contender. With Spears' loss, Garza has now jumped to the top of the rankings. After this, in a pretty decent match, Penta El Zero Miedo defeats Jungle Boy with a top rope Styles Clash. A bit of an upset win almost, but hey, we'll take it. And after this, Penta has a very evil look in his eyes, and he grabs at Jungle Boy's fingers. Kingston runs out onto the stage, and he tells Penta to stop doing what he's about to do. He says that Penta is getting out of line, and the Blood Brothers aren't focused on Jungle Boy, that they only need to worry about the top prize, which is the world title, of course. Penta eventually does, he contemplates it for a little bit, but eventually he does let go of Jungle Boy's hand. And then as he's leaving, him and Eddie are noticeably arguing as they leave backstage. We have dissension in the ranks for the Blood Brothers. After this, we check in with the VIPs Club's lounge, but rather than seeing MJF, we see Brody Lee at MJF's usual spot. He says, Maxwell Jacob Friedman. I'll be honest, you very well might be the future of wrestling. It's entirely possible. I mean, you're already a world champion on national television, while at your age, I was still pretending to be a trucker. But look where we are now. You've been handed all this opulence without needing to even work for it. You sit here at this lounge, drinking champagne, because you're the marketable hotshot who's better than everyone. But what you don't understand is that people like me exist in the world. I don't give a shit about your wealth. I don't care that you're better than me, because I don't need to be better than you to beat your ass. See, there's a difference between you and me, Max. You may be better than me, but I'm smarter than you. I am the exalted one of the Dark Order. I made my own path, and I have always led. You hid in the shadow of Cody Rhodes when you arrived in AEW. Well, I was the hottest thing on the planet. I know what really makes a star. I know how to command people. Everything about you is cowardly. You hid behind Cody. You hid outside the ring. You hide behind your employees who don't give a damn about you. But you can't hide from the Dark Order. You can't hide from the Exalted One. And when I rip that title out of your hands, you won't be able to run from the Dark Order either. You better be prepared, MJF. The Dark Order is coming. So, this is a heel versus heel thing, but right now Brody's actually kind of playing the face. He still very much is not a face, but, kind of imagining that, MJF, he's the ultimate heel in AEW right now. He's the complete irredeemable asshole. Everyone hates him. So even someone like Brody Lee ends up playing the face in a feud with him. Kind of disappointed by how poorly this... Like, hell, not necessarily ratings-wise. I'm just not sure how to write a Brody Lee promo. But Brody, he is still having his main event shot coming, and with a match coming up pretty soon. After this, real quick match, Shotzi Blackheart defeats Cynthia Regal. And then Kana laughs. You know, we hear Kana's, like, Shotzi's music playing. Kana walks out onto the stage, and she gets face-to-face with Shotzi. Can't hear what's being said, but you can't tell that, you know, Kana's taunting Shotzi. She's talking crap, talking shit to Shotzi right to her face. Eventually, this ends when Shotzi just straight up headbutts Kana, and Kana stumbles back. She drops the title, and this little bit of a stagger is enough for Shotzi to get a complete upper hand. She goes off on Kana. Huge beating to the champ before locking in a cattle mutilation. Eventually, a bunch of backstage staff rush out to break up the submission. Shotzi grabs the title, holds it up. You know, maybe even we get a little bit of a pop. I didn't want to say that for certain, but, you know, Shotzi Blackheart, she's holding up the title. She's excited to have gotten this, you know, even if it's not in a match, it's still a victory. She puts the title into Aubrey Edwards' hands, and then heads backstage. After this, so while this is going on, we have a lot of the backstage staff, they're breaking up the fighting between Kana and Shotzi. Which means that there aren't enough people backstage when Nyla Rose starts going off on a path of destruction. She's destroying anyone in her path, man or woman. I'm imagining this is a lot of our dark talent, a lot of people who aren't booked. So, you know, maybe like a Nancy Bouchard, a Dallas Tello. You might even see some people like Fuego del Sol getting beaten up. And then eventually Nyla barges into the women's locker room, where Big Swole and Carrie Hojo, they're in plain clothes, they're getting ready to leave. And Nyla hits both of them with power bombs. She roars into their face as Vicky Guerrero laughs. Eventually Brian Myers finally arrives. Nyla and Vicky leave, but Nyla does deliver a punch to Brian Myers before they leave the arena. Because, of course, anytime that he shows up, Brian Myers has to be attacked. He's decent enough. He's good enough at selling. It works for it. It's a little bit of a joke with, you know, Kurt Hawkins being constantly the butt of every single joke. You know, he's constantly being beaten up by everyone. But it's, you know, I like it. You know, the entire time we have Vicky Guerrero, she's, you know, she's yelling at people about whatever things are going on. So it's a little bit of almost a fun segment. After this real short match, Chris Jericho defeats Jonathan Gresham. Gresham, very good at just being a guy to pick up losses, because he does really good in ring. Jericho, very much struggling. He is definitely past his prime, and that definitely doesn't benefit him in no style, but oh well. After this, Jericho grabs a mic after the match and begins to cut a promo on Jeff Hardy. Talks about how Jeff Hardy is just someone who tries to copy Jericho's style, that in every single way, Jericho is and what is currently better and was always better with tag teams. He could bounce from partner to partner, showing that he could mesh well with anyone in the world. Well, Jeff Hardy only meshed well with Matt Hardy and Hard Drugs. Before we can even say any more, you know, I'm imagining we kind of, you know, a little bit of this is kind of a line that I am, you know, with his delivery of it, I imagine we get a little bit of a crowd pop for that. Jeff Hardy's music hits. He walks into the stage, and Jeff says, you know, hey, he has had his issues in the past, and some people on the roster know that better than most. Of course, we do have Sting on the roster. Victory Road 2012, obviously the infamous moment with Jeff Hardy being way too high to compete, had to be shoot-pinned, whatever. But Hardy has moved on from the past. He's continuing to work on bettering himself, unlike Jericho. Jericho counters that by saying that he constantly reinvents himself, which is why he is still the greatest of all time. But Hardy then counters by saying that he could still be at the top of his game as just himself and not under a fake name like Chris Jericho. Before the insult wars can continue, Sammy Guevara comes in to attack Jeff. Top Flight rushes out, because of course Top Flight, they are under the tutelage of Matt Hardy. So they're coming in and they help Jeff Hardy backstage. Just nice promo off. It's a very, you know, it's a fairly simple segment. You just have someone who's amazing on the mic, someone who's still pretty decent on the mic. Jeff Hardy, never really been known to be a top promo guy, but he still is decent enough on the mic. This is mainly carried by Chris Jericho, though. After this, we see Farrell Devitt by his lonesome with a camera. He says, Kenny Omega, the most elite man in pro wrestling. It's probably an honor to hear that. The best bout machine, the face of AEW, one of the cogs in the machine that brought this company to life. Well, you can forget about that now. Now, all you have is nepotism. The pro wrestling world bends down to kiss your feet. You were the one to save wrestling from the Titans' evil grip. Sure, you have your elite friends, you have Cody, you have the Young Bucks, but you were always the main attraction. The best wrestler in the world, Kenny Omega, now on a great stage in America. I won't deny your talent, Kenny. You're certainly a fantastic wrestler, but you are nothing compared to me. While you were in bingo halls, I was in the Tokyo Dome. While you were an afterthought in a comedy company, I was taking the world by storm. Remember your place, Kenny. That's all I ask. Remember that I am the real attraction, and that I am the reason that you are relevant. Real quick promo. Devitt just, stoking the fires with Kenny. Devitt was winning Best of Super Juniors while Kenny was still in PWG. Not that PWG is bad. PWG, it's a big reason why wrestling is the way that it is today. But of course, being in New Japan, being the founder of Bullet Club, which, it's because of Bullet Club that Kenny really got his huge break. So Devitt, basically saying, hey, Kenny, your career belongs to me. And they're about the same age, but Devitt just has been a bigger deal for much longer. So after this, real quick, Adam Page defeats Jacob Fatu. Just get a win for Adam Page. Not necessarily anything story-wise needed to go in there. But then we cut to backstage where yet another brawl is taking place. This time, there's a huge scrap between the VIPs Club and various of their other opponents. Deonna Purrazzo and Tenille Dashwood are fighting up against Jordan Grace, while Chris Bay is being beaten down by Jake Hager. Eventually, the fighting between the women draws in Hikaru Shida, who helps out Jordan Grace. She does ward off the VIPs Club long enough for Anna Jay and Ty Conti to rush in, and they beat down Shida and Grace. And eventually, backstage staff, they run in. Some of the unbooked wrestlers manage to separate them. This isn't just, this isn't just dark talent. You maybe even see, maybe a little bit of Kota Ibushi even shows up. Probably not MJF. He's too good for this. He's a top talent. We're seeing some more high-end people than just our filler people. We can see Kota, we can see Ashley Flair, we can see some of these people trying to ward things off, but eventually Arena Security themselves actually show up, and they assist in bringing this up as we hear another fight in the distance, calling over more of the staff, which it just follows Dean Malenko. Dean Malenko's our main one that we're looking for this, and I should have boosted up the Vision versus North City Machine Gun storyline, but whatever. The Revolutions, their name is still pending, brawling with the Vision. The tug of war taking place between Dragon Lee and Matt Sydal for the Ring of Honor World title. Of course, big point of the feud between Motor City Machine Guns and the Vision is that Matt Sydal, he's the Ring of Honor World Champion. Alex Shelley has challenged in the past, as have Jeff Cobb and Dragon Lee all this year. So, a little bit of a tie-in there. Fighting draws in Andrew Everett, who is the ROH Pure Champion, who begins to fight off Sydal and Archer as well. Maybe a little bit of pride for Ring of Honor or whatever. And because Andrew Everett showed up, Garza Jr. shows up. He gets into a fight with Andrew Everett. This leads to actual police, not just arena security, arriving to the arena and stopping the backstage brawling. And we can just hear in the background Heyman, he's yelling. He's very pissed off about all of the brawling that has happened on the show, because there has been a lot of brawling happening on this show. And we'll see how that plays into next week. This isn't looking like the best show out there. That's pretty good, though. 74 to end things off as the Private Party defeat the Motor City Machine Guns, making their first title defense of the tag team titles. Isaiah Cassidy scoring an 83. Jeez. Chris Sabin with the 54. Motor City Machine Guns a little bit past their prime. They're still very solid in the ring. They're still very good, but Isaiah Cassidy, Mark Quinn, much younger. Right now, they have the rocket strapped to their backs. Isaiah Cassidy is tearing things apart in the ring. 83 performances, fantastic. Again, a little bit of a weak show, ratings-wise. Apparently not, though. Do get a 75, but I still think this is a pretty interesting show. We'll see how... Because I only realized this after I'd booked it that we had a lot of Backstage brawling. So there's probably going to be a lot of people missing from Backstage next week. So we'll see how things progress with that in the next time.